What's going on, everybody? Man, Eric Wilson here, Sports Arena, back again, if you will. Like I said, jam-packed stuff going on this past weekend in the world of sports. Kind of want to dive a little deeper into the whole Dak Prescott Cowboy situation. So, of course, I had to get my man, Mr. Michael Carotenuto, to join me on this one. Mike, hey man, good morning to you, good afternoon to me, but what's going on, brother?
Well, I mean, they got to win. They ran the ball like I said they should, but yeah, that was not something. That was not something expected. And yeah, I mean, you feel bad for Dak. I know having surgery last night, and I mean, it just looked. It was yeah. I hate seeing. I've been up close to injuries like that, and I still can't look at them till this day.
Right. I mean, man, it was horrible. And, Alex and I were talking earlier, and I said, listen, I'm taking the team part out of it. I never wish that on anybody. Never.
All right.
And for someone who has had such a just a whirlwind of a 2020, for his season to end like that, I feel for the man. I feel for the brother, and I want him to get well, and I want him to have a speedy recovery. But Mike, I have to be very business savvy and business minded and ask you one simple question, man. First off, actually, I got two. Number one, do you believe that Jerry Jones is going to keep Dak Prescott as his starting quarterback next season?
I mean, I'd have to say yes. Look, you bring Andy Dalton in, knowing that he had no other. I mean, again, it was early in free agency, and we talked about this, but you bring him in as a backup quarterback. So, I mean, to me, that's one of those things where, yeah, he can hold the fort down, and that's why you bring somebody in like that. But at the same time, it's going to be very interesting. I mean, say they do go to the playoffs. I mean, with the division being as bad as it is, and they're in first place at 2-3, which is very hilarious to say. Um, it's I I think you have to. I mean, again, if they go on, on the other side to that is the I don't think the Jets are going to win another game, because I was going to say if they lose the rest of their games and go, 2-14, do they try and take Trevor Lawrence? Something like that. But I doubt that. I mean, Jerry wants to win. You still have that talent. I mean, the last two plays that Michael Gallup made, they weren't bad throws from a guy that you and I both know got what, maybe 20, 25 snaps all week, 30 snaps
Right.
maybe as a backup
Yeah.
quarterback does. So, but to sign Dak Prescott, yeah, I think you have to. I mean, I was going nuts with Kellen Moore not running the ball, and Tony Dungy said it last night too. Maybe in a wee bit, it's a blessing in disguise, because they'll actually start running the ball more. Um, but at the same time, I mean, you saw what he was doing, and yeah, I mean, yes, he's getting his 32 million for this year, but there's no way. I don't think that they don't sign him. So, I mean, I know.
Okay. All right.
I just
So
don't see how you don't if you're Jerry Jones, because again, what are you bringing in? Unless New England, I mean, you could play the quarterback carousel, Eric. Unless New England doesn't re-sign Cam Newton, which again, if he keeps balling like this, I don't see that happening.
okay. So my second question then to you is this, and I didn't want to put any caveat or any type of, you know, um, I didn't want to put any ceiling on it, but now I am going to put a ceiling on it for you. So since you spoke about it, yes, our division sucks. Let's put it like that. A losing record is going to make the playoffs this year, pretty much. We know Andy Dalton is good in the regular season, but he can't get out of the first round of the postseason. Now under Mike McCarthy, it might be different. At what point do you, as a Cowboys business individual, not a fan, at what point do you look at the production of the Dallas Cowboys moving forward? Just take this season in its totality and say maybe we should cut our losses, keep Andy Dalton, and maybe bring, if we can, depending on how the chips fall, bring another quarterback in to be the heir apparent to Andy Dalton for maybe a season or two. How far do the Cowboys need to go in order for that to happen?
Well, I mean, I think I don't know if you think I would go this way, but your team set the blueprint. I mean, Nick Foles went from backup to winning the Super Bowl back to Carson Wentz's backup. So in that scenario, say the Cowboys miraculously somehow, because Andy Dalton, look, he did have AJ Green, he didn't have the same running game, but the offensive line in shambles, except for knock on wood, Zach Martin. I did like the way, of course, another rookie center out of Wisconsin. I like the way he looked yesterday. But to your point, if they even got to the Super Bowl and lost, I I don't think you're still moving on. I think Andy Dalton, I mean, got a 1-year deal. Or 2 year, whatever it was. But I think I'd still think you would re-sign him. Although maybe there's a starter's market for him. But again, I mean, you look at what a team has around. So
Right.
I don't think that and I think Jerry fought it tooth and nail to make this point too with Tony Romo, because I've said to you a million times that I still think the Falcons beat the Cowboys in the NFC Championship that year when they lost to the Patriots in the Super Bowl. But that interception that Dak threw in the red zone with that bunch formation, look, Tony Romo, as we know, threw his fair share of picks. He's not making that throw. And I think that's why Jerry felt like, look, we have Zeke. Look at this line. Like, if Tony Romo's in, again, maybe they beat the Falcons, and if they're up 28-3 on the Patriots with that offensive line, it's a nice what if for me. But I think that he fought it tooth and nail once, and with as much as he always says, "Oh, we love Dak and this and that." I mean, he doesn't usually give himself too much bargaining ploy when he starts saying how much he loves his players, as you know. So,
Right.
I think that he could pull a Nick Foles and win it and go back to being a backup. I really, because I think you guys set the blueprint for that. I don't think Jerry would get too far, enamored with Andy Dalton in the fact that, okay, this is why you brought a veteran in. Let's see if he can get past the first round of the playoffs. And to your point, if they get into the playoffs and they don't get past, the first round, then, okay, well, there's Andy Dalton. So even though, it could be the defense, could be whatever, but that'll be
Oh
it.
yeah,
So
it's going to start right. It's going to start with him. It's going to end with him. So
right.
no, you're absolutely right. All right,
But I think you
let's
guys
move.
set the blueprint. You guys totally set the blueprint for that. So, and
Listen, if
Jerry,
it works, I'm going to hate myself for it. But at the same time, let the chips fall where they may. I don't see it happening. So
right.
all right, let's move on because Mike, you're the West Coast guy out there. Give me your thoughts on the Raiders game yesterday. Finally, the Raiders, Derek Carr, John Gruden, Josh Jacobs, they just were like, enough's enough. We gonna find a way and do what we have to do to not only beat the champs, but beat the champs in their stadium, beat them in Arrowhead.
Right.
Like, what are your thoughts on the game yesterday?
Well, look, I've been a big fan of Derek Carr since the beginning. I mean, that year he got injured, I know we talked about in the past, but when he went down, I mean, I'm sorry, I think that's the best team in the AFC. I think they easily could have went to New England. I don't say easily, but I think they could have definitely went into New England with the offense they had with Derek Carr and the defense and beat the Patriots, who had home field that year. But for yesterday's game, I mean, this is why, again, John Gruden grew up young, with Al Davis, and they wanted burners on the outside. I mean, that's one thing you could say about the Raiders every generation, Eric, is, yeah, there might be they're always going to have one of the top 3 fastest guys in the league outside. I mean, it's not going to go too long, and this is why they drafted Henry Ruggs. I thought they would go with Judy, but I mean, you saw that deep play. And Kansas City's defense, look, to their credit, they have played better this year. They started better this year than they did last year, but there's still some issues there. I mean, Tyrann Mathieu, look, I love him. I can't believe the Cardinals let him go when they did. But yeah, I mean, that speed is going to be tough. The Raiders just have to find it consistently on defense. Yesterday, they were up to the challenge, Eric, because they're playing the champs. And as you know, the Super Bowl winning team is going to get everybody's best game. So
Yeah,
the
they are.
target on the back gets bigger. But John Gruden and Mike Mayock, look, I know people said, "Oh, Mike Mayock, how can he be a GM?" Well, not even to make it about the Cowboys, how was Jerry Jones qualified to be a GM when he bought a team? So, I mean, Mike Mayock broke the game
Valid point.
down. Right.
Valid point.
Mike Mayock broke the game down a long time, was around the game. And I like that point yesterday that they made during the broadcast, because to me, as you know, as much as I love defense and the rules don't favor it, and that's fine, but it starts with the running game too. And Mike Mayock looked at John Gruden and said, we're taking this running back, like when he saw Jacobs. And look, this kid is developed. and they can run the ball. Their offensive line has been solid even before Gruden and Mayock got there. Their offensive line wasn't the issue. So they built it. Look, it's one game. If you're the Chiefs, you're going to get this. Can the Raiders be consistent with it? I think Derek Carr and the offense can. Defensively, they've gotten better. I mean, last year they were below average, but they're still going to give up plays. And yeah, and with Andy Reid too. I mean, the second time around, you're not going to see the same Chiefs team.
You're
So,
right.
and I'm not. So it's an awesome accomplishment. I'm not taking anything away because look, they said, hey, you want to have a shootout? We'll outshoot you, and they put pressure on Mahomes at times. He still made plays, but the Raiders made basically two more plays in the end. So that's hey, hats off to them. Gruden, again, he has an idea, but again, I don't want to hear any more about, is Derek Carr the guy? Because if Gruden starts doing that, and I don't think it's going to happen this year, I'm just saying if Gruden starts doing that, then it's going to go downhill. But Derek Carr, I mean, look, those weapons there, the speed of Ruggs is sick. And Waller, I mean, Eric, again, since you can't touch a guy, if he literally just goes to the end zone, turns around and posts up, like, throw it up high. Good luck out jumping him for a 5'10" to 6'1" defensive back to a 6'6" tight end who, I mean, last year was their best receiver, and everybody knew he was getting the ball because they really had no deep threat, and he still delivered. So I like what the Raiders are doing. I'm just not about to put them ahead of the Chiefs or especially the Ravens.
Listen, I'm not putting them ahead of anybody. I'm just saying John Gruden and Derek Carr were very poignant this past week last week, speaking about they were tired of losing and they were tired of losing to the Chiefs. So the fact that they took this moment to back their words up, and you're right, when it comes to guys like Waller and Ruggs, listen, you can't teach speed. Can't teach height, can't teach speed.
Can't tackle what you can't catch.
Exactly. I am just saying they capitalized on a moment that in the past would not have been there for them. So I'm very excited to see how the future moves for them. Listen, I want to talk to you later on this evening about the whole coaches thing. I think we might do a coaches firing carousel later on tonight here on the Sports Arena. So let's talk about two more things. First one being, it came to fruition. I'm happy about it. LeBron got his fourth ring on his third team. I'm going to sit here and soak in my glory because that's all I've got right now because Philly, even though they had a shootout with the Steelers yesterday, still lost. How we're now 1-3-1. But speaking of that basketball reference, you got to show love to what LeBron did with AD, Rondo, J.R. Smith. I mean, let me ask you, Mike, your thoughts on not game 6, because game 6 we knew, listen, by the second quarter, the game was over. There was no reason for them to play the second half. But overall, the point that was made was the NBA season started October of 2019 and finished in October of 2020.
2020, yeah.
And history, if you look on it, the correlation between rest in peace Kobe Bryant and LeBron, the similarities between the two of them, 11 years difference. And then the icing on top of the cake and the cherry was the fact that LeBron won his fourth title, dedicated it to Kobe and Gigi on Father-Daughter Day. I mean, let me get your thoughts on that.
No, look, believe me, LeBron as a person has done amazing things, and yes, basketball wise, it is. I mean, look, it was theirs to lose. I know the Clippers, them, and the Bucks coming back in were the three favorites.
Right.
We liked our certain teams. I mean, Miami, obviously. And again, to Jake's point, I don't think they shocked anybody because about the time the season got canned, the first time we talked, they were one of the hottest teams. Jimmy Butler was really just coming into form with Bam Adebayo. Tyler Hero looked a lot more comfortable, as we talked about. So again, it's not a shock that Miami won the East. It would have been a shock, I think Western Conference, as much as I said, I try to get on the coattails of Denver and Jamal Murray and almost made me look like a genius. But that being said, like, it was the Clippers or the Lakers in the West. In the East, people say, oh, well, who knows? But yeah, if the Bucks, again, didn't have that, whatever you would say, killer instinct, but for LeBron to dedicate it to them, I mean, absolutely. You can see he was emotional. It's just for every I won't even say 2 steps, but for every 5 steps LeBron takes forward, Eric, there's always the one step back because he won the MVP. And during his he's like, you know, we got respect. He's like, I want my respect. Who does not respect him? Like, honestly,
There,
like
Mike,
that's
there are
that.
still people out there though
No,
that do not respect him. There are
okay,
those people.
but
You're
those are
always going to
fans.
have that
There's
group.
nobody. There's nobody in the national media that doesn't say that LeBron's the best player still in the
I
17th. Okay, well, there's very
I
few
could
then. There's
I could
very
throw
few.
out one big primetime name that has a
Who?
show Monday through Friday on a certain three-letter network that is always critical of the success of LeBron and is also quick to point out his faults. I don't want to say his name.
All right,
I'll
all
just
right,
say it rhymes
okay.
with I'll say it rhymes with Tip Payless. That's all I'm going to say.
That's
So,
that true, touche. I see. I skip over him because he gets ridiculous, but I can't. You're right.
no,
No, you're right.
no.
But for the most part, I mean, look, my issue with him, and like I told you, is look on the basketball court, he can do amazing things. Yes, just like every star of every generation, he gets every foul call. I mean, Malone, Jordan, all those guys. Look, we've been through it our whole lives in the NBA. Even though when we grew up, it was a lot more physical of an NBA, Eric, as we
Hell
know.
yeah, it was.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
but those guys always got the calls. Look, did they become great players? Did they earn some calls? Yes. Even as a fan of them, did it frustrate you? I mean, come on. I mean, I love watching Jordan play. I love watching Barkley play. Especially obviously in Philly and stuff like that. But does it frustrate you when you're like, come on, man? They're just shouting that. I mean, if you call that on the playground, you're going to get punched in the throat. You and I both know that.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But that being said, to focus on LeBron, look, I mean, it is sick. It's a fourth ring. But he's just saying, I want my respect. Look, I had an issue with people crushing KD about going to the Warriors. Yes, I get they were a 73-win team. Yes, I get that they were up 3-1. But, I mean, technically, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen started this. But then LeBron went the decision when he went to Miami. It's you always give yourself a point for people. And I'm not saying don't have fun. I'm not saying an athlete should be, we can't celebrate because you know how I feel about, especially with baseball, have personality. These unwritten rules in baseball are super. But for LeBron to say something like, "Oh, I need my respect," but yet, when Giannis won the MVP, he can't even say his name. He goes, "Oh, the guy that won it deserved it." How is that not disrespectful to the dude that just won the MVP? My grandpa used to say, "If you want it, you need to show it. You need to give it, and people will see you're genuine." I just think it's, when Russ averaged the triple double, LeBron, people are like, oh, LeBron could have averaged a triple. It's like, dude, what Russ is doing is ridiculous. And KD left, and he's proving that this team is still relevant. Now,
Right.
that being
Right.
said,
You're
but
right.
look, all of LeBron's accomplishments there. Look, this year was awesome. I mean, everything with Kobe, it's like, yeah, they definitely were, even if outside, I guess if you're a Celtics diehard fan, they were kind of the sentimental pick for people in the NBA because of what Kobe meant and what Kobe, I mean, again, in getting back to rings and just how he was driven and the Mamba mentality. But yeah, I mean, look, LeBron, and I thought, not even picking on LeBron, I thought that Anthony Davis deserved the MVP of
Oh,
the
hell yeah.
series. I mean,
I
if we're gonna be
completely agree with you. Yes, sir.
legitimately
100%.
honest. Yeah.
Yep.
But look, I mean, on the court, you know me, I'm not going to take anything away from LeBron. I'm never going to say he's still not better than MJ. You go to 3 different teams, fine. But those teams back in the day, yes, in the 90s, there were free agents, but you drafted and you developed. And if you screwed up, those guys were gone. They were on some other team, But I mean, look, him on the court, I have nothing but respect. I'm still not going to say he's better than MJ, and I'm still not going to say that he's more of a killer than Kobe. His talent is ridiculous. What he can do with the ball, I'm not. Look, I can't take anything away from him. And do I sit and watch him play when he's on? Absolutely. But I can't stand remarks like I need my respect, but you can't even say the MVP's name. And then in Miami, when people look at things like, yeah, overall Miami was awesome. But then you say, the year they lost, I think it was to Dallas. He's like, well, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be me tomorrow. People can say what they want. They're going to wake up and they're going to have their problems. I'm like, I get you're frustrated, but you can't have rabbit ears. You got to be like Carson Wentz. Doc Rivers was signed. Well, really? You can't have the rabbit ears, Eric. So I
No,
just
I
look.
get you. I
I
get you.
love his
I
talent.
do.
I love his talent. And what do you? I mean, again, I'm not saying he wasn't deserving of an MVP. I just think Anthony Davis's first finals again in that situation. We'll see what happens next year next season if they can actually play. Hopefully, play in arenas. I mean, with what the NFL's doing, it at least looks like they'll be able to. So that's a good thing. I
True,
mean,
and that time still remains to be seen. All right,
right.
Mike. One last piece, and then I'm gonna let you ride out of here. We've got the Monday night matchup. If I told you that Justin Herbert would get to start this season and have to play against Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, and Drew Brees in a span of 4 weeks, I mean, I want to know what the Vegas odds were on that because somebody made a ton of money. But I have to get your thoughts, Mike. What are you expecting tonight as Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers are now in the Superdome to face Drew Brees, albeit without Michael Thomas, not because he's injured, but because he wants to be a knucklehead and punch one of his teammates,
Yes.
which that's a whole nother story for another conversation. What are your thoughts on the Chargers Saints matchup?
Right. Yeah, I would have said that you and I should have got all the money together we could have and bet on that because I was obviously high on Justin Herbert. When somebody goes back to school, they start nitpicking their game, whatever sport it is. He wanted to go back. His brother was coming in. He wanted to play with his brother. They had a shot, like we said, to win a national title until ASU ruined that for them in Tempe. But no, I mean, look, with the Chargers, I wouldn't have taken that bet though because I was with you. Tyrod Taylor is going to start. They have good offense around him. Tyrod Taylor, whether people say, oh, he's just been a fort holder, or a placeholder. That's not true in Buffalo. I mean, he got there and he was a starter. And I mean, Tyrod's had awesome seasons. You put a good back around him. They obviously have Keenan Allen. They have good receivers, big tight ends, stuff like that. So we would have been crazy to probably take that bet. But for Justin Herbert, man, I mean, trial by fire. Granted, you're not literally going up against him, but he went toe to toe. I mean, that first game against the Chiefs, it goes, he finds out, like you said, he's starting, he puts on his pads, they walk out, and then all of a sudden, oh, hey, by the way, you're starting. Like I said, the 25 snaps you got this week, I hope you're ready to go against the Chiefs. But, good for him. I mean, I'm not surprised talent-wise. There's a few things, again, on the throws. And in college, as we know, some guys are really wide open, and those windows, as you know, get a little bit smaller in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
But, look, I'm not surprised he's having the success. Anthony Lynn, I think they brought him along perfectly. I guess I could say the surprise for anybody would be a little bit higher, Eric, just due to the fact that we didn't see anybody in preseason. So we don't have to beat that horse. But, I mean, that's one of those things
Valid
where
point.
guys are doing great in camp. Cool. Like, what do they do? I mean, they're going against their teammates. Like, I get it. But, no, look, he's definitely got the demeanor. He's got the size. The other advantage is there will be no fans in the Superdome as well. I was going to say the Michael Thomas thing. I don't. That's just yeah, that's related. But yeah, I mean, I think they'll keep it close. I think the Saints defensively, of course, he's still a rookie quarterback. They're going to throw some things at him. We'll see how he handles it. But look, he's been delivering the ball. He knows he's got Keenan Allen. Put it up high to Keenan Allen. He can't really go wrong. The guy runs great routes. And
Very true.
So, yeah,
very, very
I
true.
mean, I've always loved Justin Herbert. Pac-12 bias or not, it's one of those things where, until that ASU game, he was right there for the Heisman Trophy talk, which, I mean, that's a whole other discussion for us later, too, because I just don't think one game should boost you or take you out of the Heisman Trophy.
But it depends on what that game is, and how those voting people are when it comes to they look at game by game, and at any moment you could jump from 12 to 3 or go from 2 to 14. So I mean,
those players. I mean, again, you want to win it, but they're not going to keep up with it each week. But yeah, for Herbert and the Chargers, I mean, Anthony Lynn. Look, they did. I mean, look, Phillip Rivers had to move on. They weren't going to give him the money. I mean, Look, it was amicable, and he went to Indy. He got a gig, and rightfully so. He can still play. But that being said, like, I mean, you have Tyrod Taylor. You brought him in because, like you said earlier, for the Cowboys. I mean, Justin Herbert was the heir apparent. 6'4", 6'5". You put a running game. I suggest the next thing the Chargers will do. I like Eckler, but you still need another back. You need a bigger back. So
I agree.
We'll see what they do there. But as for tonight, I mean, look, I don't. Fans or not, I'm not taking the Saints to lose twice in prime time at home. That's just tough to do. That's really tough to do. But look. I think just like the Bucks game, I mean, and the Chiefs game, he keeps them there. They keep him in the game because they're not. It looks like they're just not even spoon feeding him, Eric, but they're giving him like more of the playbook. Like the first week against the Chiefs, it was like, okay, we were probably on the sidelines, as you know, you've heard 100 coaches say this, like, what are the 10 to 15 plays you like? And they'll switch formations up and they'll run those plays because, again, he didn't take any snaps. But I think he's smart enough to where they can open up the playbook, but at the same time, they just fed him a little more each week. And I mean, look, he's learning. He like you said, trial by fire. He's learning. So I love
Listen,
it.
he's not going to make. I think he's not going to make the rookie mistakes that people are anticipating him to make. And I really feel like if there was ever a quarterback, and I have to say this and be completely honest with you, looking at all the rookie quarterbacks who have played, I think he is the most NFL ready. So I'm happy. Here's the thing: what I'll say to you about the Saints, and Alex and I talked about this earlier. Think about it like this: should the Saints lose tonight, the NFC South would go Tampa Bay, Carolina, then New Orleans. New Orleans would be third, and a team that we did not think was going to get maybe 6 or 7 wins would now be second place in that division, a division that has Tom Brady and Drew Brees.
Well, and to
Okay.
piggyback off that real quick, how great has Teddy Bridgewater been? And if you would have
Oh my
said,
God. Yeah.
again, another betting thing, they're going to do this without Christian McCaffrey too. They're going to win some games, and they're about now. Yes, if Christian McCaffrey is there, do I think they win both those games by bigger margins? Absolutely. But at the same, because he still opens other guys up. I mean, this makes a defensive coordinator's job, as you know, a lot easier. But yeah, to say that Carolina's right there, and again, not a shock with Teddy Bridgewater, just a shock with no Christian McCaffrey,
right,
and a rookie head coach like Matt Rule, who again they did their due diligence, and again it is college football, but we knew he knew offense because in the Big 12 they will score. They won't play defense, but they will put points up on anybody in the country. So
very true. Hey, believe in the Pac-12. Michael Carotenuto dropping new stuff every Friday. Make sure you guys check this man out. Great stuff, great articles, great interviews. Your man Eric Wilson, Sports Arena. Hey, we're just getting started. We got much more to talk about later on today, but we will definitely talk to y'all soon. Everyone have a good one. Peace.